Influence means this. I get Barney to change his mind, completely change his mind. He's not predisposed to agree with me or buy from me. In fact, he may have already told me no. And I get him to change his mind and go 180 degrees the opposite direction, 180 degrees, and he says yes, and he thanks me for it. He's like, Don, oh my gosh, I would have never thought I would have done this. I would have never thought, thank you. I'm so glad I listened to you. My life is better. That's called win-win. In influence, the person you're talking to, the buyer, has to win first. The buyer has to win first. I get him to change his mind, and he thanks me for it. That is influence. Remember, if he already agrees with me, I don't need to influence him. And I will never get wealthy only dealing with people who already agree with me. Now, let's flip that coin over. On the other side of that coin, let's say I get Chuck to change his mind. He's not predisposed to agree with me. In fact, he's already told me no. And I get Chuck to completely change his mind and go 180 degrees in the other direction. And he regrets it. Oh, why did I listen to Don? Why did I listen to Don? Have you ever had buyer's remorse before? Let me tell you what. You may have brought people in the business. You may have been brought into a business. And 6 months later, they hate your guts or you hate their guts. They regret the decision. That's called manipulation. Now, well, I didn't mean to manipulate. I wasn't trying to manipulate them. Doesn't matter. It's the buyer's impression and the buyer's outcome that makes it influence or manipulation. You're right. Some people try to manipulate. That's called win-lose. I got them to say yes, but they're not happy. They have buyer's remorse. They don't even call me back anymore. I didn't intend to manipulate, but it was. Remember, influence. I have to recruit and lead the army. Recruit and lead the army. And when I say recruit, I'm not talking specifically just about bringing people in the business. I'm talking about in all aspects of our life. We've got to bring people in and help them make their life better and get them to say yes to things that are going to improve their life. Here's a big did you know. Manipulation is not the worst thing that can happen. Here's the worst thing that can happen, and here's what's going on out there way too much. The worst thing that can happen is you have a product, you have a service, you have an idea, you have an opportunity that you know is going to make a major difference in somebody's life. You know, Vicki and I were talking about this out in the lobby there about getting people to say yes to insurance, getting them to say yes to disability insurance, getting them to say yes to critical care insurance. You have an idea, you have a product, you have a service, and you know it's going to make a major difference in their life. And here's the kicker. They know it too, and they agree with you. I know, I should be doing this. You're right, this is perfect for me. But they still tell you no. They still tell you no. And if you're like me in 1995, you go to yourself, I must be the worst salesperson in the world. How they're saying no to this. It must be me. They even agreed it's the right thing. They have the time, they have the money, they have the whereabouts, they have the will, and they're still telling me it must be me. I got to get out of the business. And in your business, that happens all the time. No, it's not you. Something happened to them, and we couldn't overcome it. They were there to say yes, and we couldn't get them there. That's called lose-lose. They lose, their family loses, you lose, your family loses, society loses. The inability to get people to change for the better, to change for the betterment of their life is the worst thing that can happen. Hey, at least with manipulation, somebody won, right? It's not right. The inability to get people to change and do things that are going to improve their life is the worst thing that can happen. And folks, that is what directly leads to 99% of the people not making it. That inability to get people to change for the better. That's what influence is. That's what influence is. When you're in a decision as a buyer, there's two forces at work, and you and I as sellers need to know these two forces very well. The two forces at work are interests and defenses, and those forces work opposite of each other. They can't occupy the same space. When interest is high, defenses are low. When interest is high, we buy. And I want you to think about all aspects of your life. I want you to think about, for example, not just selling product or bringing people in this business. Think about relationships. You meet somebody for the first time. Oh, wow, you're very interested in them. You want to go out. They're attractive. They're funny. They're smart. You're interested. Interest is high. And then about, 6 weeks later, you start to find out a little bit more about them. And it's like, wow, where'd all that come from? When defenses are high, we do not buy. When our defenses are high, we do not buy. Why is that important to know? Because when we're presenting, we're raising defenses. When we're talking as a seller, we're raising defenses. I'm going to prove that. When defenses are high, we do not buy. And the whole industry of selling is all about raising defenses and buyers. Look at the evidence. Look at the evidence. Probing is not about the buyer. Probing is all about the seller. Keep answering questions until you say the right thing so I know you can buy my product from me. It's all about me. When interest is high, they buy. When interest is low, they say no. So we have to work on only one of those. We have to work on raising interest. When interest goes up, defenses go down naturally. It's critical in the decision process to have low defenses. And yet, our natural inclination as a buyer is to have high defenses. You're going to see why. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. Go. So, let's go back to 1995, Albertsons, Los Angeles Avenue, Simi Valley, California. I'm standing in this one aisle. One aisle in particular is my favorite aisle in the store. And I don't know why, but I was frozen. I was just frozen there again, contemplating my life, and I was watching people come down this aisle. Watching people come down this aisle. And this guy comes down this aisle, and this guy did the exact same thing I did at the exact same place. And I chuckled to myself. Not like that. They would have called security, but inside. Crazy man in aisle 4. I thought, what are the odds of some guy coming down and doing the exact same thing I did at the exact same place? Wow, that's just strange. I'm still frozen. I don't know why. I don't know why. A woman comes down, and she did the exact same thing at the exact same place. And I'm like, that's when I had that epiphany moment, that forehead-slapping moment. Oh, Don, for 10 years, you've been studying the wrong people. I was trying to learn how to cure disease by studying doctors. I should have been studying the patients or the buyers. The epiphany moment I had at that point, and I invested 16 years to bring this to you so you don't have to wait 10 years to have an epiphany moment. The epiphany moment I had, besides selling doesn't work and sales training doesn't work, is that every human being on this planet, we're unique individuals. We have our own DNA fingerprint. We're all unique individuals. No other creature on the planet is as unique as humans. Yet we all have two things, and only two things in common. Every human being on this planet only has two things in common. One, we're all humans, the same species. The second and only other thing every human being has in common, we all make decisions the exact same way for a very important reason. And I've dissected that process down, and I'm going to share it with you here. And then I'm going to do something else. I'm going to prove it to you. Every human makes decisions the same way. We're built that way by God for a very important reason. Knowing that process is everything in influence. So I had to come up with a fancy name so people remember, to be really catchy and really kind of have a lot of teeth. There it is. There's the name of it, the decision process. That's how creative I am.